Alf, we've got Gemrate data. It's out for the month, and we have got record-breaking numbers from PSA and SGC.
Here, slow boy. Ow, my hip! Larry Bird! Hey, oh, here you go. Psych! Larry Bird! Gotta watch your head, young fella, cause it's yeah! Don't worry, Kevin, I see you. Just gotta give it a little
Love for grading has not slowed down whatsoever. Before I get started, Tuesday, Shoutouts Drip Marketplace. If you want to upgrade your sports card collection or rip some of the hottest NFL, NBA, or MLB products, make sure to check out Drip Shop Live, the go-to shopping platform, trusted sellers, diehard community of collectors. I've got a code down below. You can get up to $250 in credit to use immediately on their app with no minimum purchase. Make sure to check out Drip down there in those links below. Wooten Sports Cards on Whatnot. If you're a Whatnotter, 10,000 followers, 5-star reviews. Wooten Sports Cards. He's a football card guy along with a variety of other things. But man, he sells out just about every week, so make sure to check out Wooten Sports Cards today. Don't miss out. Also, we've got Jay for all the vintage, non-sports, and just non-sports in general. He's got a lot of the modern, ultra-modern as well. But maybe you're a vintage card collector and you're like, you know what? I've heard a lot about this non-sports stuff getting a lot more attention lately. The pop culture stuff has really been on fire. So make sure to check out Duckin' Cards on IG. I'll put the little picture there so you can easily find Jay over there. He is a wealth of knowledge on this stuff. Always willing to answer questions on that non-sports cool non-sports stuff. So make sure to follow Jay, and he's buying, selling, trading all the time. Reach out to him. Can't forget justcollect.com. You got a collection to sell? JustCollect.com. Leighton Sheldon been buying collections for decades now. One of the top tippity tops as far as getting good prices. So make sure to check out Leighton Sheldon at JustCollect.com. I'll put a link down in the video description to take you there. All right, the top 2 grading companies for sports cards on the planet set a new record. Both companies, and of course, last month, actually before last month, we're in April now, believe it or not, February 29th. Was when the announcement came out that Collectors, the parent company of PSA, was purchasing SGC. So now you've got the 2 powerhouses are one. They are running independently, but they are under the same umbrella, same parent company. PSA last month, 1.33 million cards. That's plus 8% month over month and plus 9% year over year. And this is sports cards, and it's also TCG non-sports. So this is everything. It's just wild to me that you're still seeing, 7, 8, 9, 10% growth month over month when, they were already grading a ton of cards. We're already seeing the most cards graded ever in history, and it still continues on. You talk about the down market for pricing and this, that, or whatever, and the economy, this, that, whatever. People are still grading a truckload of cards. It just continues to rise based on these numbers. CGC, as far as total cards, at number 2 with 185,000 cards. And we've talked about this. They are primarily a TCG non-sports shop at this point, and it makes sense. They are also the parent company, also the largest grading company for comic books. And so there's a lot of fans of, Marvel cards and also just kind of non-sports stuff that they wanted to go to CGC because of the comfort level that they've got on the comic book side. Month over month, they're up 13%, year over year, plus 62%. So CGC cards doing very well to kind of continue that growth. SGC sets a new record for them as a company for sports cards, graded 147,000 cards last month. That's plus 1%. So slight growth, but it's still growth nonetheless. But year over year, if we're looking at sports cards, that's plus 22% year over year. They were already grading a lot of cards going back last year. So SGC continues to make inroads. There was question marks around, hey, are people going to still grade with SGC with the acquisition and this and that? It shows here that the answer is yes. Now we'll have to look and see kind of over the next couple of months, but they continue to operate as they have. They continue to have great service and a great value add as a grading company for collectors. Beckett, 66,000 cards. That's plus 1% month over month, but it is a negative 6% year over year. It's the only company year over year out of the big 4 that has receded a little bit based on these numbers. And so, that's, again, Beckett's always in the news for kind of faltering around and making mistakes and just not having any sort of a public presence. That's the one thing that Beckett could really do to help their image is just get out there more. I see them do TCG, like IG Reels, and they do some little things here and there, but I don't know, pick somebody, pick a charismatic person in that company and get them out in front. You know, get somebody out there that's really doing work on social media and also, you know, just kind of public statements, public facing. Beckett really needs that right now, and they've needed it for years, really. Sorry to say it for all the Beckett fans out there. I like their slabs. They've got a positive name there from Dr. Jim Beckett, but they just haven't done enough to really kind of build that brand out. And then not only just kind of the marketing part, but then also the execution as well. So we will see if Beckett continues to kind of slide a little bit or if they can make some inroads. All right, if we break this down again, sports versus TCG, PSA had a whopping 822,000 sports cards only this past month. That's 14% month over month, 22% year over year. So their sports cards really this last month way up compared to March of last year. SGC, we talked about, they're plus 18%. All of the grading companies, SGC, Beckett, CGC, they're all up year over year and month by month. The one that actually stands out here is CGC cards did 31,000 sports cards, which is a plus 147% going back from last month. So they got some good traction in March on the sports card side, which is good for them in the sense that, again, we've talked about it. They've really been doing a ton of TCG non-sports and not a whole lot of sports cards. But it looks like in March, they actually did a fair amount of sports cards, so good for them. Now, if we go to the TCG side, PSA still about kind of flat, really, month over month, 516,000 cards. Are down slightly year over year, minus 6% for TCG. CGC, 153,000 cards. And again, this is where they've really kind of nailed it. Year over year, they're plus 83% as far as their TCG non-sports. Now, I'm trying to remember, they were doing kind of a pop report redo makeover thing that kind of made their numbers really wonky. And so I'm just kind of wondering if that's part of why we're seeing kind of these huge gains here where it's 183% year over year, because they were going through a time where Gemrate was tracking their pop, but they were doing maintenance on it. And there was months of this, maybe 3 or 4 months. And I just can't remember if that's like now, if that's already been a year. Time flies. But I'm just kind of curious there as I'm kind of talking through this. Beckett, 31,000 TCG non-sports. That's negative 16% year over year. And they're really doing just about 50-50 for sports and non-sports these days. And they put a lot of effort. The marketing I see for Beckett, it's all about Pokemon cards and BGS 10 holders. That's really what I've been seeing. When I find Beckett on IG, I'll see them co-oping with, you know, another TCG creator, and they're talking about that. So I just haven't seen them do anything on the sports card side unless I've missed it, but that's really where I've seen them do collaborations. And then SGC, 17,000 TCG non-sports, that's plus 1%, plus 61% year over year. So again, SGC has not historically done a lot of TCG non-sports stuff, but they have really kind of worked that up here year over year. So we'll have to see if SGC continues to make traction on the TCG side, and then also if CGC continues to make traction, kind of gain traction on the sports card side. You can see that, you know, for CGC especially, they've really kind of found their niche there with non-sports and TCG. But look, they've got Andy Broom, who was a top grader at Beckett that came over there. They have a great grader. So it'll be interesting to watch that as we move forward. What do you guys think of these numbers? Are you still grading a lot of cards? Have you kind of held off on grading? It looks to be as a whole, companies have been doing grading specials, and it seems to be that it's working. Again, if we go back to pandemic times, grading cards was very expensive, and now you have seen it's just not as expensive. You can argue that maybe we're grading cards that shouldn't be graded right now, and there's people that are taking losses on certain cards. And I think a lot of that is people are enjoying the kind of the rush of, can they get a 10? And if they get a 10, then they can make money on it. If they get a 9 or a 9.5, then maybe they can or can't, depending on the card. There's also nuance to it, to where, you know, if you are grading a ultra modern baseball card, let's say, then you have to get a 10 to make money. Whereas if you're grading a non-sports card that doesn't have a very high population report universally from any grading company, then you can profit off of those. Even if you get an 8, it'll still sell okay because there's just not graded copies and people want to buy graded cards, graded trading cards. So it's interesting times. We've seen, look, the growth of grading. It's the companies that have really gained the most here over the last few years from the pandemic are grading companies. Demand for it hasn't slowed down, and I think the grading companies have done a nice job of figuring out equilibrium with pricing and turnaround times, kind of making sure it's all working for them. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.